This is what happened to all the blackberries last year, especially down here on the lane. You can probably see that they're just brown and drying up, and they were just all like this. It was so sad last year. Here's another one. And these are not that likely to swell and develop into blackberries unless we get loads of rain, which we might do, but there's none on the horizon at the moment. There's certainly none in the weather forecast. So this is how I thought it was going to be all the way along the lane. I'll just show you along the hedgerow here. This is kind of on the other side of this hedge is where the heath starts. So we're just going along the lane. There's heathland on both sides here, and on this side is dragonfly heath, and then acorn wood. Crow wood is down at the bottom. But anyway, I thought I'd stop just for a moment. I'm going to go down to the end because last night I went for a walk and I actually found an amazing thing I wasn't expecting. So I'll take you down with me and we'll have a look together. Here's the first clue that there might be a few blackberries somewhere, and this is the first thing I spotted last night. We're on the same bit of lane as we just were, and you can see that some of the bunches have got some ripe blackberries and ripening blackberries which look as if they're going to swell, which is already a big step up from last year and the year before. It's just been really sad. I found it quite hard to come down to the heath for that reason. I've been preferring to do other things, go walk in other places. All the gorse as well was going, well, it's a little bit this year, but going brown, not as badly as it was last year. So there, and the leaves are turning very, very early like there. But so we'll just continue. I just thought I'd show you a kind of halfway house. So those berries are not dried up, but just a few of them are ripening, and maybe the whole cluster won't ripen. I don't know yet. We shall see in the next week or two. So I came round the corner, and just the part of the lane which is going towards the little stream, and there were lots and lots of ripe blackberries. It felt almost like coming upon fairyland because they were actually large and juicy and ripe. And here's some more. So I've been picking and I've been picking. I almost felt a little bit not quite scared, but I thought this is really strange, just have this little oasis of blackberries. Perhaps I've wandered into fairyland, and if I eat the fruit I won't get out again. Anyway, I quickly overcame any worries in that area, and I've been picking, and I've picked quite a good bowlful, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to take them home, I think, because at the old shop there are quite a few apple trees in the back garden, and in fact we'll have a look at those, but most of them have got a few apples on. They're not exactly laden, but they've got a few, and as I've got quite a few trees, that's going to be a few apples that can be made into blackberry and apple crumble. They're not ready yet. In the meantime, I shall freeze a nice batch of these blackberries, and then when the apples are ready, it'll be blackberry and apple crumble time, and all from grown or foraged fruit, which is just what I'd always hoped for the old shop. So I know it's a really simple thing, but it is a start. It feels like a start of something. We're back in the front garden, and in fact it hasn't been so long since we were here last, but there's still been quite a lot of growth and change, and the next video is going to be a Lammas special Q&A, so we won't be doing so much looking around the spaces. I'll just be using the spaces to sit in to answer the questions, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to show you where we are. So there's been a new flush of roses, especially Desdemona, my absolute top recommendation for any rose. Absolutely beautiful, and more importantly, perhaps even the scent is absolutely beautiful and exquisite. But when they're at their best, like that one there just opened, I don't think you'll actually find a more beautiful rose either. Really, really lovely all-rounder, and the fact that it flowers again so readily when you deadhead. It's been flowering on and off. It was the first one to flower and it's the last one to flower, so you can't ask more than that. Lots of the Japanese anemones are out now as well. Everything's very tall, so we don't need a huge tour this time because we did look at it in fair detail last time, but I wanted to show you the Veronicastrum because that's properly out now, and looking really lovely. I think these spires make a lovely contrast with other plants in the garden, as well as I always say, but that's why I chose them, being really good for wildlife, overwintering wildlife. And as well as that, we've got the sea holly here, which you can probably see an insect on there now, but they really like it now. They'll also really like it in the winter when they can use it as a place to shelter. The bird bath, I've had to keep filling that because it's been evaporating a lot, and I just need to make sure that there's plenty for the birds. A little wren flew off just as I came in here, so that was very lovely. And the grasses are still in beautiful flower. This is lovely grass. It's only in the last, really, well, since I've been here really, that I've appreciated the role of grasses in gardens. Again, it was from a wildlife point of view, but it's the most beautiful texture in the garden, and it's lovely seeing the heleniums through a kind of haze of golden grass. Really lovely, and of course it moves in the gentlest breeze, so I'm enjoying watching it myself, so I hope you are as well. Going around a different way this time, I think. The heleniums, as you can see, are all out beautifully, and Japanese anemones. They are really lovely flowers for late summer, both of them, because this is their time, and when other things aren't perhaps quite so vibrant, they're actually coming out and looking really fresh, even with this dry weather. Although admittedly I have been watering them, and it's only a small space, so it's quite easy to keep it watered. But anyway, they are lovely. They are lovely. Pond is not looking fantastic, but it's in fact I think I need to give that some more water. I'll do that after this. What else have we got to look at? There's a pond plant flowering here. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's nice to see it flowering anyway, and being happy enough to flower. And the water mint is flowering too. This is a different Japanese anemone. Can't say it. This is a different Japanese anemone, and because it's a single one, I don't know which varieties are which, but I did know I had more than one. My ankle's being prickled by a sea holly, which has gone a bit wild. And there's another one there. The Emily Bronte has put out some more flowers as well. Lovely big cluster there. This is the Sanguiscorbel, which does all need tying up, which hopefully will happen at some point. I keep meaning to do it and not doing it because it really is flopping a lot now. A good idea with it is to put something really quite sturdy in front of it so that it helps to prop it up without needing to put canes and things in, but it's just got grasses in front of it, and they're not going to do a lot of good really. More Veronicastrum here as well. Really nice, isn't it? Now, the Garden Guardian has been a bit hidden down where his normal place is, because of the way other things have grown. We've got the dogwood in particular has kind of taken over the space, which is great. I'm happy with that because it's happy itself, but I think it's a shame that the Garden Guardian doesn't have a little bit more space to himself, so I've moved him. So now he's on the step itself, and the frog sits on the other side, so I quite like that. They're both guarding the doorway, although the doorway is actually not used. It's been blocked up on the inside because there are two front doors because it was a shop, and the door now was the shop door once upon a time. But we can talk more about the shop and anyway, anything you like really in the Q&A, so do let me know if you have got any questions and I'll do my best to answer them. I have to say it's just about perfect summer weather today because it's breezy, but it's not a cold breeze at all, and the breeze is making everything in the garden move around and just have a very gentle presence, which I enjoy very much. So I hope you've enjoyed this really rather quick look around today. Ooh, it's a bit of a bigger breeze. Did you see it? Bluster. But it's not cold. That's what's beautiful about it. I've seen lots and lots of dragonflies this morning out along the lane by the heath and on the heath, so I think it's suddenly become dragonfly season, and with any luck we might see one in the garden here as we wander around. I'm going to show you the back garden in a while, what I've been doing in the vegetable plot, so we'll see. If there's a dragonfly around, I'll try to catch it. They're very quick, and so we might not be successful, but if all else fails, we've got the dragonfly door knocker. Not quite the same, I know, but a reminder of the real thing. Here we are in the back garden, and if you hopes I might be going to show you some progress on the bindweed front, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. It's flowering now. I would say it's pretty, but you know, yeah. But what I do want to show you is two things. One is the way the fruit is growing, and the other is the vegetable garden. So we'll just firstly look at the pears, because they are rather my pride and joy. Again, I like to show you using my hand the size, but you see it's getting, I mean, they're not pear size. I've shown you one of the biggest ones. To be fair, that's a smaller one. But there are quite a few of them still. And in fact, they're weighing down this branch lower down. They're actually weighing it right down almost to the bindweed, so I take that as a good sign. Another thing which is really growing, in fact they might be almost ready, I'm not quite sure how you know when they're ready, I think they probably are these plums, and they are called something like, I can't remember actually, but they're something like Oolong. Anyways, I think there's the word golden in the title, which I'll have to look it up for next time. But as you can see, they are indeed turning golden. So I think, and that felt quite soft, the one I just touched. So I've got a feeling they might even be ready, if not almost ready. So I shall be doing a little bit of investigating fairly soon. The other thing I want to show you, other things I should say, are some of the apple trees which have got, this is one of the best ones, which is the Adam's Pear Main. I think I usually show you this one simply because it has probably got the biggest, most ready apples on it, and there are probably a dozen, maybe, maybe quite a dozen, 10 anyway on there. And another one I can see some rosy coloured apples on, if I can make my way fight my way through the bindweed. Here we are, and this is a Discovery, I think, and Discovery are usually ready really early, like August time, and in fact there's one down there which has been nibbled, which is usually a sign that they are actually ripe enough to eat, because the birds know. And last year I didn't get any. I think you may have heard me say this before, because there were loads, far more than this, and then one night or one day I came and they literally all disappeared. There wasn't even a trace of one on the ground, and consensus seems to be it was either squirrels or pigeons. And here I think it would be pigeons. It's amazing they would do that, but there is really no other explanation how they just disappeared. As I say, there weren't even any remains of them on the ground, but apparently that is quite typical. And I've also been told by somebody, or maybe a couple of people who contacted me, that Beth is a very well-known pear variety for this to happen for some reason. There's little clematis, a tiny little white flowered one here that grows up the pear tree, and it's kind of growing everywhere really, wherever it can find something to climb onto, not just the pear tree, but it's finding things to climb up, so that's really pretty. Now this is the special thing I wanted to show you, because I discovered this not an hour ago. Look, you won't believe this. This is the height of the sweet chestnut tree. There's my hand, so it's it's just about almost, well, it's not level with my shoulder, maybe chest height at the top of the leaf, because it was just a little baby hedging plant. And look, it's got a baby sweet chestnut on it. I don't know whether any actual chestnuts would form inside it, but there probably will be tiny little miniature ones. Isn't that just incredible? Just the one, of course, but then I'm just amazed that it would have one chestnut on it as young as this. I would have thought it would take years and years. So yes, actually I was so shocked and excited to see that I had to show you as well. And the leaves look really healthy, don't they? It looks really happy there. I think it's one of the trees I'm going to have to move actually come the autumn, but I'll have to kind of ascertain what's what once I can literally see the wood for the trees or the trees for the undergrowth, which will happen at some point in the autumn. And here's another quite nice apple tree as well. I don't know what this one is, can't remember, because as I've said before, I didn't label them. There was the ones I remembered at the time, I know, but I don't remember what this one is. And I think that some of them are ones you can cook with and eat, and I think this might be one of them. It might be James Grieve, but I'm not quite sure. The trees, which we haven't looked at in detail because we can't get in there, are here. And then you're coming down here and there are 3 raised beds. And I would like to, I mean, originally I was going to have more of the garden as raised beds. And I think, again, over time, I probably will have to find a way of expanding the vegetable growing area, because it's just, it's getting a balance, because obviously planting trees for wildlife and for the planet is so important, but also making sure I can grow plenty of food within the trees, but also I think the raised beds are really useful. So what we're looking at here are tiny, I'm sure you can see, tiny little clusters of plants here. And these are little clusters that I sowed in modules. I didn't do very well in the modules in the house, but I've planted them out just in desperation, really, because they were so tiny. They either had to fade away to nothing or take a chance out in the garden. And I'm glad to say they seem to have established. The idea with the modules is you just grow little clusters and then they space themselves, push each other. If they're things that will push each other apart, like say radishes or turnips or carrots, you can do that. Most of these are kind of lettuce or leaves, and I think these down here are basil, and there's some carrots there. I don't know, it's obviously very late in the season for them to do very much, but the thing with leaves is they can be really baby leaves, can't they, and still be tasty. So I'm hoping for something. And what looks like bare earth here, I actually sowed this area this afternoon. So no wonder that's not come up yet. Not expecting miracles. And that's more leaves and spinach, which you can sow as late as this. It's quite good to sow spinach late, because when there's not so much warmth in the sun, it stops it bolting so quickly. These little tiny courgettes, again, you might think, what is the point of even planting them out? But I thought I'd give them a try, and they're looking a lot better even since I did that. And these are ones that came out of their pot sooner, and you can see they've established, so it's definitely worth a try. And these started off as little seeds on kitchen paper on the bedroom windowsill. So yeah, it's amazing, really. The runner beans, these are the only plants I was actually given, so as little plants, and I put them in, so they had a bit of a head start. But look, they're actually ready, and I had some at lunchtime today, steamed with some other vegetables, and very tasty they were too. And this bed looks really lush considering how late everything went in. But it's peas, or munch too. They're quite small, but I had a few of those at lunchtime. Broad beans, not ready yet. And what else? Oh, very pretty pink flowers on these, but there's some dwarf beans. I mean, none of them are ready yet, but the leaves look really healthy, don't they? And the broad beans are flowering. So I'm really hopeful that there'll be something. Oh, I forgot to say in between, and I've been harvesting this a lot, there's a row of coriander, and that's been so good. I've used a lot of it, and the leaves are so healthy and green and lush, and all those good things. So really, I really recommend, if you're in doubt putting things in late, give it a try, especially the dry summers and warm summers we've been having in the past few years. And there's a couple more courgette plants of the same batch that were very unhappy and now are much happier. And there's fennel that was just left in the ground. Actually, had been a fennel bulb, but I'm keeping it. I haven't used the leaves, but it's got lots of flowers, so it'll have fennel seed. I'm going to use some of those seeds in my Lammas loaf, but more about that in the next video. And here's the last bed. So what I've got in here, radishes, carrots, and there's a lot of, these are radishes, they're getting a bit old, but I've been eating them a lot. And there are also some, I haven't really looked at these between the leaves, but they are turnips down there. I'm not sure whether the turnips are forming yet, and beetroot. And here there are more radishes, because obviously they grow very quickly, but that's the second batch, so they are successional. This is dill. Haven't used the dill yet, but the good thing with dill is that you can use the leaves in various dishes, but also the seeds, so I'll be saving the seeds as well. And that's another lot of coriander that I did successionally, and that's coming on now as well down there. And then this is a perpetual spinach. I haven't used any of that yet either, but that's ready to use. And there's something that's been really nibbled down there, which I think was rocket, but I'm going to root that out, I think, and put in a row of something in that's a bit less vulnerable to whatever nibbled that. And then there's the other couple of courgettes and some leftover marigolds, which are looking a bit, the flowers are looking nice, but leaves of calendulas, marigolds always go kind of mildewy white after a while, so it might be time to harvest what's left of the flowers and then perhaps pull them up, because I've saved some seed anyway, and it's surprising how they seed themselves before you've realised they've done it anyway. Some of the seeds will have been ready some time back, and they are very beautiful and cheerful, aren't they? I might leave them a little bit longer yet. So there we are, that's how it's looking. And particularly that middle bed, I think that's one we should focus on for the final shot of the vegetable garden. Well, just before I go, the last thing to say is I just wanted to remind you about the Lammas video in a couple of days' time. I'll probably put it out on Tuesday, in fact. And it's going to be just questions and answers really about life at the old shop, how I came here, anything. So if you'd like to ask anything at all, just pop it in the comments underneath and I'll see if I can answer it. So until then, it's goodbye from the old shop and hope to see you again soon.